Pressure. What's it gonna be? Monday, 2, 3? Okay.
I would like to call to order the Board of Education meeting for Tuesday, October 15th, 2024. Are there any speakers related to closed session topics? Thank you. The board will convene to closed session.
On my side.
Just had to wait for the weather to catch up with our,
Fish don't make a story.
And then I was like,
The board will now convene open session and report out from closed session. Open session of the Board of Education meeting is live on YouTube. Visit NHUSD Board of Education webpage for the link. If you're attending online via Zoom, use the raise hand feature to indicate you wish to provide public comment. Phone participants should press 9 to be added to the quick and wait to be called on. Members of the community may submit public comments to the board via email at publiccomment@nhusd.k12.ca.us before each meeting. The board received 0 public comments via email for tonight's meeting. The board will not respond to questions posed by those making public comments. Relative closed sessions items 3.1 through 3.3, the board took no action. Relative to item number 3.4 in the board in closed session by a vote of 4-0 vote. With myself, President Gonzalez absent, approved a settlement agreement between the district and a family relative to OAH case number 2024-080565. Okay, so procedural, I'm gonna go ahead and turn it over to Vice President Kumar at this time.
Will the audience please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. May I have a roll call, please?
Here.
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 May I have a motion and second to approve tonight's agenda?
So moved. Second.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Aye.
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 Can I have a volunteer to read the land acknowledgement tonight? Trustee Rafe?
We want to open this meeting by acknowledging with respect and love that the land we are on today is the traditional ancestral homeland of the Ohlone Chochenyo First People. We recognize and thank the Ohlone people as the original stewards of this land. Indigenous people must not be spoken about in past context as if they left on their own accord, when the real causes were the white supremacy, manifest destiny, and US colonization. By recognizing we stand on the occupied indigenous territory of the Ohlone people, we recommit ourselves to listen to Native leadership and stand in solidarity with the people struggling against systems of oppression throughout the world, past and present.
Thank you, Trustee Rafe. Back to you, President Gonzalez.
Thank you, Vice President Kumar. We're moving on to public comments. Are there any blue cards for topics that are not on the agenda?
No blue cards.
Okay. How about anybody on Zoom? Okay, so that it also includes agenda items. So, okay, no. Okay, moving along. Okay, and I do not, for our president's reports, I do not see anybody from CSEA nor NHTA. So we'll move on to our presentations and actions. This is 9.1. This is overview of the arts, music, and instructional materials discretionary block grant. Ms. Hellman's going to do a presentation on it.
Good evening, Superintendent Thompson, President Gonzalez, and members of the board. Annette Hellman, I'm your Chief Business Officer. And tonight I have the pleasure of presenting an overview to you with regards to one of the block grants that were included in the Budget Act of 2022. This is the Arts and Music Instructional Materials discretionary block grant. Now, you may know that we have two arts and music funding sources. We call this we're following how the terminology that the state's using, because they're quite a mouthful. So this is the AMIM, and then there's a Proposition 28 Arts and Music Funding Source, which is an ongoing, unlike this one, this is one time. That is called, according to the state, they are calling the other one, the Prop 28 one, AMIS, which is Arts and Music Instructional for Schools. So tonight, this presentation is regarding the one-time block grant, which is the AMIM. Where am I pointing? Oh, I went too fast. Okay. So as part of this presentation, I'm going to go over the funding profile, conditions and requirements. There are always certain strings attached whenever the state gives us money, and how the district plan is put together and how are we going to use those dollars. So a couple of facts and figures. These are good background to have with regards to this, especially because in the last 3 years, starting with COVID, public agencies have received, different variations of one-time funding sources. So for this particular one, as I mentioned earlier, this is the Budget Act of 2022. Statewide, there's over $3.5 billion allocated to public agencies. There's usually a formula. How they come up with a number, it's usually based on something. In this case, it's based on the average daily attendance as of P2 in 21-22. So whatever our P2 ADA for that year, that's how they calculated this. In looking at the allocation for New Haven, it amounts to about $642 per ADA. We have a couple of years to spend this. By June 30, 2026, all of it should be encumbered. There's also a difference when the state says spent versus encumbered. So for this one, it's encumbered, meaning as long as it's obligated, we have a legal obligation to pay something, which is a purchase order that's legally binding. So when we look at these documents, we usually pay attention to what that means. So we have until June 30, 2026. The entire 6-point-something million have been received by New Haven already. So that has been sitting in our cash. Okay. So I simply took these 4 major things. I actually took these from the statute. This is the language in terms of the allowable uses of the funds. And when you look at these, it's quite open. It gives public agencies some, discretion in terms of where we need it the most. Now, while there's an overarching area that we can use this, the greatest need right now for our districts is on textbook adoption, because we haven't done that in a while. And therefore, that is the bulk of how we are planning to spend those dollars. The statute also named certain areas and subject areas in terms of where we can devote these monies to. And as you can see, we pretty much need everything in especially in some of those areas. Whenever we receive money, like I said, there are certain strings attached, especially when they are in the form of block grants. In this case, these are the things that we need to do. We need to look at a plan. The board needs to discuss the plan and then take action in approving that plan, which is what we are doing tonight. As this is from 2022, however, the adoption, which had some planning in progress that we've done, getting to where we are now, is the item in a later part of the agenda that you will be requested to approve. And that's the action that is needed as a condition of receiving those. Even though we've already received them, the state can take something back if we didn't meet all those conditions. Another condition is a reporting structure. So, and that's, in this case, we only need to do it after we've spent all of them. They usually give us a few months to prepare that report. And in some cases, there are quarterly reports, like we've seen with a lot of the federal monies, like ESSER. We were reporting those on a quarterly basis and an annual basis. This one, they just want us to report back to the state at the end of the spending timeline, which is 3 months at that 2026 expenditure date of June 30. So with that, we put together the district put together in terms of how we're planning to spend that $6 million. How do I open this? Please. So what you see here is reflective of the discussions and the planning and the needs assessment in terms of our textbooks needs and instructional materials. As you can see, we started taking advantage of those resources back in 22-23 in some ways, and our adoption starts this school year, and therefore you see a bulk of that activity happening beginning now. So I would like to note that these amounts are inclusive, because this grant actually allows some indirect charges, and it could change. There are factors as listed in the bottom in terms of what might change these line items or the dollar amounts or the subject areas. So there are some factors that might change this. But right now, as a condition of the grant is we need the governing board to take action on this plan that's being presented to you this evening. And that concludes my presentation. I'll entertain any questions.
Okay, are there any questions or comments from the board? Yes, trustee Hernandez, go ahead.
Thank you so much for presenting today. I really enjoy seeing our monies go to our students and to our programs. So this report just feels really good to see, and I get excited for our future. Thank you.
Well, I have to say a lot of that work happened in the teaching and learning department. I simply just put it together.
Okay, and I have a question. So if a community member asks, because I've seen on the line item there, mathematics materials. So what book have we adopted? If they want to know about what are these materials? What do we have for 6 through 8 or whatever? How would they find out that information?
Select.
So if a community member, a parent recently reached out to me and wanted to look at our math materials, they would simply meet with the principal of the site and look through the curriculum that we have adopted. For our elementary K-5 curriculum, we use the funding to support ongoing license and manipulatives that go with the math elementary level adoption. And then for middle school, we purchase digital licenses and consumables on an annual basis. And then in our high school, same thing with the digital subscription, but this year we're also piloting the pre-algebra textbooks because we just created those courses. So we're piloting books to see what would be a good fit for adoption. So we're going through that process right now for 9-12. Okay, does that answer your question? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Good.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on to 10.1. This is items from the board and superintendent. So we'll go to the right and work our way to the left. Okay, trustee Winaflor, go ahead.
All right. Good evening, everyone. This week is HOCO week, so the wings at Logan are decorated with each of the classes' prospective class teams. HOCO rally and game is this Friday, and HOCO dance is on Saturday. And leadership's just super excited to be hosting these events. Next week on October 26th is Puente Fest with vendors and performances in the student parking lot. And I was talking to a couple of students and they were like kind of disappointed to hear that our social and emotional wellness center for Logan wasn't going to be available this year. And the school does have an alternative with Daybreak, but a lot of students really aren't like familiar with it. So they're still getting like trying to get used to the telehealth system. And Ms. Ramos, our early academic outreach program, will not be with us next year, and which many students were like upset about, since Ms. Ramos is really helpful to like many of the past seniors. So yeah, that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Trustee Hernandez. Okay. Trustee Nishihara.
I have nothing to report.
Okay. Trustee Rafe.
Yes, like I had the opportunity of seeing Logan Live in action. Logan Live crew, like they came to all the candidate forums and they recorded and the professionalism and the commitment that they have. And their teacher, Darini Rasai, like she's also the way she relays the message and the kids act on it. And I'm really impressed by all that work that's been done. So, and I got to attend today's ribbon cutting at Emmanuel, and it was really facility is beautiful, and it's it was really great experience. Thank you.
Okay, Vice President Kumar?
Thank you. I was at the inauguration of the Makerspace at Guy Emmanuel today, and it looks great. All the different spaces have been integrated. So there's a media center, there's a computer lab, there's a Makerspace. It looks really nice. There's also a wellness center. I'm excited that almost all our elementary schools now have a Makerspace. We're working on Alvarado Elementary. Last board meeting, Superintendent Thompson gave us an update that we are in the clear to get that started. So I'm excited that soon all our elementary sites will have a Makerspace. So thank you, staff, for doing all the work.
Thank you. I have nothing significant to say, so we'll go ahead and go hear from the superintendent.
Okay, just a couple of quick things. It was fantastic to see our new Makerspace. Alvarado's coming, it's happening. We're moving ahead, so that's great. And I shared last time we're having a middle school virtual open house on the 29th of this month. And it'll feature CCMS, IBCMS, DSIS, and also we're hoping Assistant Superintendent Stevens and her team have been working with our Ohlone and our community colleges, and we're hoping that we might be able to announce some college pathway work that goes starting all the way down to middle schools. We'll see. We're working on something that would essentially, I didn't tell Ms. Stevens I was going to talk about this, but that could potentially start in middle school and culminate with students graduating from here and also having an AA and all the way through an engineering pathway kind of plan too. So we'll see. I'm just giving a little preview of what might be coming, but Ms. Stevens has been doing a lot of work trying to really cement those pathways. So we're excited about that possibility and hopefully soon. So that's it for me.
All right, thank you. Moving on to 10.2, this is required quarterly reports regarding complaints filed under the Williams complaints procedure.
No complaints to report.
No complaints. Okay, moving on to committees. Nothing has changed. So this is for the Finance, Technology, and Facilities Committee. We're not meeting for a while, so we have nothing to report, just like last time. All right, so the Communication and Advocacy Committee.
No updates since last board meeting.
Okay, and then the Policy Review Committee. We are scheduled for November 19th, so 4:30. Any other committees? Okay, yes, Trustee Rafay.
So our SELPA next SELPA meeting will be on December 10th, and I just attended a ROP meeting just last Thursday, and where we got to congratulate and they give the plaque to Steve Kay, who's auto tech teacher at Logan High School, and he's also a teacher at MVROP, and it was really a pleasure celebrating his achievement of being the teacher of the year. So nice. So, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, how about from the foundation or any other committees? Or no? Okay. Okay. All right, so that concludes our committee reports. Moving on to our action items, and I'll go ahead and turn it over to Vice President Kumar to preside over that.
Thank you, President Gonzalez. We'll start with item 12.1. May I have a volunteer to read resolution number 018-2425, Native American Heritage Month, November 2024. Thank you, Trustee Rafay.
Whereas Native Americans are descendants of the original indigenous inhabitants of what is now the United States, and whereas Native Americans were the first stewards of our environment, contributed to the unique identity of California, represented by the early voices of the values that define our nation. And whereas prior to European colonization of the Americas, the indigenous people of California thrived with a vibrant culture and society. And whereas Native Americans were the first human inhabitants of the land that is now Alameda County, and their culture is richly interwoven with Alameda County's diverse social fabric. And whereas the Ohlone Chochenyo people inhabited the lands from the San Francisco Bay to the lower Salinas Valley, including what is now Union City. And whereas Native Americans continue to contribute immeasurably to our history, diversity, economy, and culture by distinguishing themselves as academics, entrepreneurs, and leaders. And now therefore, be it resolved that the New Haven Unified School District Board of Education recognizes and celebrates November 2024 as Native American Heritage Month and encourages our communities to participate in appropriate observances of activities that celebrate and commemorate Native Americans as a symbol of hope and courage to all citizens. And be it further resolved that the New Haven Unified School District will work to support the academic growth and cultural pride of Native American students in our district and county. Passed and adopted this 15th day of October 2024 by the following board.
Thank you, trustee Rafay. May I have a motion and second to adopt resolution number 018-2425, Native American Heritage Month, November 2024?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Abstentions? Motion carries. Moving on to item 12.2, may I have a motion and second to approve the district plan for the Arts, Music, and Instructional Materials Discretionary Block Grant?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed say nay. Abstentions? Motion carries. Item 12.3, may I have a motion and second to approve memorandum of understanding between New Haven Unified School District and California School Employees Association?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed say nay. Abstentions? Motion carries. Moving on to item 12.4, may I have a motion and second to approve the 2024-25 classified salary schedule?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Abstentions? Motion carries. Item 12.5, may I have a motion and second to approve the 2024-25 comprehensive school safety plans for each school site?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Abstentions? Motion carries. Moving on to item 13, are there any items from the consent agenda that any board member would like to pull for a separate vote? Seeing none, may I have a motion and second to approve items 13.1 through 13.18?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed say nay. Abstentions? Motion carries. Item 14, since there was nothing removed from consent agenda, we can move on to item 15, and I'm going to turn it back over to President Gonzalez.
All right, thank you, Vice President Kumar. Assessment of governance procedure and protocol. Are there any comments on that? Okay, see none, moving on. Board requests. Are there any board requests or questions on something that move forward? Okay, hearing none. All right, we'll go ahead and call it a meeting. We'll go ahead and adjourn at 6:55. Good night, everyone.
Thank you.